The Tao of Self-Confidence, Episode 709. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. Well, hello, friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have an amazing lady on the show today. She's a career coach, a podcast host, a writer, and a lawyer, and I'm really excited to have her on and share her story with us today on self-confidence. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Selena Lee. Selena, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Sure. Hi. Thank you for having me. My name is Selena. I started my career as an investment banker right after college. And then I worked as a corporate lawyer and learned the hard way the importance of doing work that is really meaningful to me. So several years ago, I achieved my childhood dream of writing a book, which I published in Korea. And it led me to start this community called Give One Dream, which is the mission is to inspire people to pursue their dreams. And then last year, I started a podcast with the same mission called Live Your Dream, where I interview people who really had the courage to pursue and achieve what they really, really wanted to do with their life. So big goals and big dreams. And all my life experiences led me to my current work, which I believe is my calling. And I now work as a career coach and help others to find fulfillment in their careers and do meaningful work.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Selena, what's your cultural background?
I'm Korean American. I was born in LA and I moved to Korea with my family when I was 3 years old and then came back to Southern California 10 years later and have stayed ever since. So yeah, I guess I have a bilingual and bicultural background. I learned to speak both languages and adapt to both cultures, which actually wasn't an easy thing to do as a teenager. But it actually turned out to be one of my biggest assets and strength. And I actually gave a TEDx talk about it. So
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Selena, what would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
My favorite self-confidence quote, or my favorite quote actually, is by the poet Rumi. It says, "As you start to walk on the way appears."
Thanks for sharing that great quote. And in your own words, how do you define self-confidence?
I believe that self-confidence is something that builds over time when we take action, even though we have fears, failures, and rejections. And I really believe action cures fears and develops confidence. So I learned this when I was trying to achieve my childhood dream of writing a book, which I briefly mentioned before. I had to interview people who have achieved their dreams to write my book, right? So, of course, I would be reaching out to them to interview them, but everybody said no to me, or actually they didn't even respond. So I think the hardest part about writing my book was trying to get people to give me a chance to interview them. So I got more rejected trying to write my book than I'd ever been until that point in my life. And from that experience, I learned to really learn how to reframe rejections, because I thought, okay, well, everybody feels bad and they have low confidence because, they feel bad if they are going to reach out to people and they might not say yes, or they're not going to do a good job, or there's a lot of fears in their head, which people talk themselves out of trying things. And I learned that the reason why I'm getting rejected is because I'm trying to achieve my dream of writing a book, right? So the fact that I'm getting rejected, the fact that people are saying no or don't even respond to me is the evidence that I am trying and taking steps and taking one step towards my goals and dreams. So if I wasn't trying to write my book, if I wasn't trying to do anything, I would not be getting rejections, right? So I literally reframed my rejection as a proof that I'm trying and that I'm trying to achieve my goals and dreams. And that really, I think, helped me to build confidence over time. And now as a career coach, I have my clients do these rejection challenges where their goal or the homework is to get as many rejections as possible every week. And I think over time, it kind of builds your rejection muscles. And maybe the first time it's not going to be that easy, but it's like running a marathon. You're not going to be able to run a marathon tomorrow, but if you train and run a mile tomorrow and then the 2 miles next week, maybe you'll be able to run a marathon over time. And just like that, if you're able to reframe rejections and just be okay with people saying no to you, over time, you're going to be able to develop confidence and be able to do huge, amazing things like writing a book or starting a podcast or starting companies or changing a career into a completely different industry.
Thanks for sharing that great definition. And Selena, what was your life like before you discovered self-confidence?
I think, well, as I'm sure you can understand, as an Asian, person or Asian American or Asian woman, especially, that we were told this certain story, and I was certainly told just by the society that there's a certain path to success, right? So I had to follow that to, I guess, feel like I'm accepted, and I was walking this path of that people thought was good, going to a good school and getting a good job, and I think because I wasn't really sure about what I want and who I am, that I kind of followed other people's definition of success. And when I achieved all of that, I realized I was not very happy and I was very unfulfilled. So because I guess I wasn't really self-confident or really knew my own sense of self-worth outside of other people's approval, that I kind of followed what everybody told me that I should do. And then I think I felt like when I started working as a corporate lawyer at a big law firm here in New York City, which I thought was my ultimate goal in life, I felt like I won the race, but I was in the wrong race. That was a very, very big moment for me. But I think my life really changed after I was able to really learn who I am and what I want, and to be able to have the courage to live the life that I want and not what other people want for me.
Thanks for sharing that. And I think that's something we all go through. And what was that point in your life when you realized you can go out there and live the life that you want? What was that aha moment?
I think there was a time, because like when you go to like networking receptions or go to parties and you meet people for the first time, right? And then that question, right? Like, so what do you do, right? So I used to say, I'm Selena Lee from Merrill Lynch or Selena Lee from Brooks and Gray, and no more questions asked, right? Because people know what that is, right? But then when I was no longer affiliated or part of a big firm, I didn't know what to say. And there were moments when I felt like, oh my God, am I not as legit as I used to be? Do people think that I'm no longer successful? And that was a very scary moment for me, because then I realized if I'm only going to be feeling good about myself if I'm doing things that other people think is good, then I'm never going to be happy, because my own sense of self-worth is always tied to external validation, right? So that's when I realized I cannot live my life like this. So I am going to give myself permission just to do the things that brings me joy or that I'm curious about, even if it had nothing to do with my job. And of course, I got a lot of looks, right? So as a Korean American, being a lawyer is considered or a better path than a lot of the things that I do now, right? Well, I guess the society has kind of changed a little bit now that, doing your own thing is cooler than it used to be maybe 10, 15 years ago. But especially in the older generation, I definitely get a lot of looks like, what is that? And why would you throw away all of your credentials and background to do something, different? But I think when I just gave myself permission to just do the things because I no longer wanted to live the life that other people laid out for me, that everything really changed. And it really, I can honestly say, like, my work really brings me so much joy and it makes me feel so alive. I feel like I remember the first day I was in my first day of school at coaching school, I felt like I just came home and I felt like I was wearing clothes that was so comfortable for me. And this feeling of coming home in a professional setting, I've never experienced it before. So yeah, now I get to do what I love. And that is a result of really learning from all these experiences and being really true to myself and learning to trust myself and to follow my own intuition rather than what other people say is what I should do.
Thanks for sharing that. And that's great you're able to do that and do the things that make you happy versus following the crowd. And, to the woman who's listening to your episode, she may be in her own journey to self-confidence. What would be that one tip you'd give to her?
I would say trust your own instincts and believe in your own voices rather than what other people say is what you should do. So I think a lot of times we give much more power to other people around us than to ourselves. And for example, like when I wanted to write my book, my mom thought it was the worst idea ever. And she had reasons to believe that because, I only went to elementary school in Korea. I didn't know anything about the publishing market, and I've never really written anything in Korean after sixth grade. How was I going to find a publisher and all of that? So she literally laughed at me. She said, it's never going to happen. And I would get into like fights with her and I would cry. And I was so hurt because I thought, you're my mom. And even though everybody else kind of laughed at my dream, like, you should be supportive. But she was like, I really don't think you can do it. So, on the other hand, my sister was really supportive and she said, you're going to do it. You're going to prove her wrong. And I mean, long story short, it did get published by one of the best publishers in the country. I think when you really believe that you can make something happen, magical things happen, and you do figure out a way to make your dreams happen. And then my life really changed. I became this person who was invited to do press interviews, give talks, and my mom started to brag to her friends. And I was like, you don't even have any bragging rights. But she did brag. And so I was really curious. And I asked her, why, were you so against it? And for the first time in her life, she apologized to me and she said, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I really didn't think that you could do it. So I was trying to protect you from getting hurt. And that's when I realized, wow, parents actually don't want the best for us because their role is to protect their children, right? So from their eyes, if the road that you're about to embark on has a high rate of failure, they're going to do whatever it takes to stop you from going there. But if they don't really know what our full potential is, we don't even know what we're capable until we try, right? And parents are also a product of their own generation. So, I think in my parents' generation, they really valued security and stability much more than taking a risk and living a life on our own terms. So I think a lot of people don't have a lot of confidence, and because they give a lot more power to the people around them. And so don't listen to them. Parents actually don't know what you're capable of. And last year I was at the Tribeca Film Festival, and Spike Lee, the famous film director, was saying how parents kill more dreams than anybody. And I was like, oh my God, that is my mom, right? So I think not just parents, but when a lot of people around you is saying you can't do something, what they're actually doing is projecting their own insecurities onto you and saying, if they were us, they can't do something, but they're not us. So they don't even know what we're capable of, right? So I would say, don't listen to other people around you, but listen to yourself, not the inner negative voice, like saying that you can't do something, but your true self, like wanting to do something. And dream big and start small. I think when you have really big dreams and goals, it can feel intimidating because you don't even know where to begin. So think about what is one action that you can take today to get one step closer to your goals or dreams, and then actually take that action, send that email, show up at events, talk to people. And over time, I think your action will build confidence, and you do that consistently every day, and your life may be changed beyond your wildest imagination. And that certainly happened to me.
Thanks for sharing those great tips. And if our listeners wanted to get to know a little bit more about you and what you do, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Yeah, sure. So my website is, my name spells with C, not with an S. So it's CELINALEE.co. And that's where you'll be able to find a link to my podcast. And also for people who are really looking to find their calling or how to do what they love and how they can have fulfilling careers, I have a guide called 3 Steps of Finding True Career Fulfillment. And you can also find that on my website, selinalee.co/steps. And my Instagram handle is Selina's Dream, CELINAS Dream.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Selina, you can also head on over to thetaoofselfconfidence.com and search for Selina's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else that we talked about. And I really just want to thank Selina today for taking the time to share her story and tips with us on self-confidence. So thank you so much, Selina.
Thank you so much.
Not a problem. It was really great having you on the show. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of The Tao of Self-Confidence. Please subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to get your daily boost of confidence.